This is the Legacy Lineup Podcast. I'm your host, Ren Lawwell. Joining me, my co-host, Jimmy Barnett. Jimmy, back for another episode here. Tonight, we have a special guest joining us here in a little bit, Coach Brian Pitzer, who is a former McLean High School student, former Mount St. Joe's quarterback, and is currently working in the field of education and coaching high school football. So Brian will be joining us here in a little bit. But before we get to Brian, I just want to go over kind of a couple of things that are going on in the world of sports right now. Obviously, we just sat through the selection show for the NCAA tournament. And I don't know if you remember this, but we're about a year in on doing these podcast episodes, because when we started this, some of our first episodes were about the NCAA tournament. So kind of full circle here. We're in a year into doing the podcast. So back to the NCAA tournament. What'd you think of the seedings and any matchups that stand out to you in that first round?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't actually catch the show, but I was kind of following on my phone with the updates. But I'm obviously a Buckeyes fan. I think they're going to struggle to get. I mean, they got Loyola Chicago, who's got the gods with them. So I mean, it's going to be. I think they can beat them. I think in the next round they play Villanova, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure that they can beat Villanova, but I hope. I'm also, I root for the Vols because my dad. So I can see Tennessee making a run, Elite Eight, Final Four, possibly even going all the way. So I just like to see somebody different win. I've already done my brackets. I've got 4 of them. So I picked Duke in 2, Gonzaga in 1, and Tennessee in 1. I mean, I'd rather those teams not win. I would like to see like Ohio State or Tennessee, but I mean, we'll see. I don't know. You never know. I mean, that's why they call it March Madness. It is absolute madness. I'll be in Lawrenceburg, Indiana this Friday with BJ and a couple of the other guys, the Strokers, Luke, some different people. Luke's sister Lindsay's going. So we'll be up there and probably be watching some March Madness, maybe betting on it a little bit. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, for sure. I think I've done one bracket so far. My national championship winner is going to be Arizona. I think that's who I'm going to ride with. Just because looking at last year, the Pac-12 traditionally is not very strong in basketball. I mean, they have their years where they have some success, but look at last year. UCLA went all the way to the Final Four. You had Oregon State in the Elite Eight. You had USC in the Elite Eight. And these were all teams that, nobody really expected anything out of when the tournament started. So I've got Arizona. I think they're like 31-3 on the season. Their losses coming to UCLA once, beat them. Who else beat them? Somebody random beat them, but I think they're a team that could definitely go to the national championship game and win that.
They'll meet each other, won't they? Eventually, Arizona and UCLA.
Yeah, I think so. But like Gonzaga is a team that, of course, that's the easy pick because they're the number 1 overall all seed, but they tend to struggle when they get down the stretch. I mean, when it comes to national championships, Elite Eights, Final Fours, they tend to struggle in those big moments. So they haven't broken through yet. So there's nothing that's telling me that they're going to do it now. So I'm going to go with Arizona, I think, in a couple of my brackets. And then I also like Tennessee as well. I mean, they just won the SEC championship game in impressive fashion, beat a Texas A&M team who had been knocking off the Giants in the SEC. So impressed with them overall. I'm not sure they can take it to that next step of winning a national championship, but definitely an impressive team. And then you've got the Big Ten, who, you never know what to think about the Big Ten. I mean, you've got Iowa, who just won the Big Ten championship. You've got Illinois, who, has been good the last couple of years. They got beat by a 16 seed last year in their first game as a 1 seed. So you never know. Purdue, another team that could make a little run if they get hot.
Rutgers has been knocking off all the Big Ten teams. So it's like they've been knocking off all the Giants. So Michigan, Michigan is streaky, but they could win some games that you don't expect them to. The first round, I think they could win. Even
they got an 11 seed, which I didn't really.
Yeah,
the seeding doesn't make sense to me because, like I was telling you before, Wright State won the Horizon League, but yet they're in a play-in game for a 16 seed with some other team. I don't remember who they play, but that doesn't seem fair to me. It would seem like it should be the bubble teams that have to do this play-in games. Because
I think it's off strength of schedule or something like. I'm not entirely sure.
If you win your conference, I feel like that should give you enough.
I get what you're saying.
You get a spot. Michigan's an 11 seed and they're like 17-14 on the season. So,
but I think if you put those two teams, their schedules up against each other, Michigan definitely plays a harder schedule. It's the nature of the beast, man. It's it's a popularity contest with the name of the school. I think mostly, who they play. So it'll be fun to watch, man. I love March Madness. I hate to admit it, but college basketball, it's they play a lot of games, but it's also like with work and everything, it's kind of hard to follow it every night because they do. It's like, I guess I can't say that because I watch baseball every night, but it is kind of hard for me to follow. But I do root for the teams, and I always get the updates and stuff on my phone. So
yeah, it's hard to get into it until this time of the year.
Yeah.
You're watching basketball games 3 nights a week. that's kind of rough to do that
basketball
during the season, but
yeah, basketball is probably my favorite sport to bet on. It's NBA and NCAA. It's the most fun, but it's also it's stressful when you start doing all that. But it is a good time. So I definitely enjoy that. But I wanted to transition, Ren, and see what you thought about the Reds. I know the MLB and the Players Association and the owners came to an agreement finally. The players have reported to spring training. I think the first 2 series are canceled, 4 series or something like that. Reds will open on April 7th, I think, somewhere around there on the road. The Reds traded Sonny Gray today. I don't have a problem with it, but I want to see if you have the same kind of thought I do about that trade.
Yeah, I think rate of return, though, kind of, is disappointing. I could say you get a young prospect. I think the kid they got was the Twins' #1 pick from last year. A pitcher, what's his name? Chase. I'm missing his name.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. He's a #1 or a first
He's
round
a young
pick.
arm. He's got a big arm, throws hard, but doesn't really have much besides the big arm. But he's only 18 years old, so you're not going to see him in the rotation for the next 4 or 5 years. He's going to take some time to develop. But I think kind of what you're thinking is give the opportunity to Lodolo and Hunter Green here with that 4th and 5th spot in the rotation being open now. Those two are going to have an opportunity to compete for a spot because you got Malley, who is somebody else they could trade. You got Castillo, who is somebody else they could trade if it's really a rebuild. And I'm not really sure what that means with the Reds, but what is a rebuild with the Reds? Because it's like they rebuild every year. So is it a rebuild or is it just what they do?
I don't know. I don't know that the Reds are rebuilding. I don't think you consider trading Sonny Gray a rebuild or Tucker Barnhart. Those guys aren't. Sonny, he's a top of the rotation pitcher, but from that perspective,
not resigning.
Yeah, but from that perspective, though, you also have to look at the guys. Like, you have to make room. So being a small market team, obviously the Reds can't afford guys that the Yankees and Mets and the Dodgers can. But what they can do is they can bring their younger talent up, which I think that's the goal this year with having those 2. It was just 1 rotation spot. Now, since Sonny's gone, it's going to be 2. So I'm seeing David Bell did say today he thinks Hunter Green's ready. Nick Lodolo is who is going to compete with him for that 5th rotation spot. So I think you're going to see both of those guys possibly get a shot at the rotation, maybe, which will be pretty cool. And I know there were some other guys that left. I think Michael Lorenzen's gone now. So the bullpen.
He's the Angels.
I think there's a lot of potential. It's just like, they got that pitcher. I guess their thought process would be they got a younger pitcher, new, give him a few years to mold, and then there might be another opening on the rotation once he's ready.
You've got a couple guys too that are kind of that we got to see a little bit of last year that are younger pitchers that had made the rotation last year. You got Vladimir Gutierrez, who will be back this year. You got Tony Santillan, who'll be back this year. So those guys could also be guys that could vie for a spot in the rotation as well, along with Lodolo and Green, like you mentioned. So they do have some good young pitching, but I don't think we're going to see them make a big splash as far as a free agent signing here in this next couple of weeks. Because you do have some guys out there that would be guys that they would, they could add. You could bring Nick Castellanos back, but
they're not bringing Castellanos back. That's just not happening. But we're going to see the outfield this year is going to be Senzel. Thankfully, I'm glad he's back. I just hope he stays healthy. His biggest issue is health. When he was healthy this year, he was unbelievable. But when he's not healthy and not playing, he can't be unbelievable. So it's going to be Naquin. Naquin's going to get his shot. So I think he'll be in right field. I think Winker will be in left, and I think Senzel will be in center, or maybe Senzel go to right. They'll hope maybe with him in right field, maybe he'd be less injury prone. I don't know, but it'll be fun.
You got TJ Friedel as well that they expect to get some at bats this year too.
Yeah, you
And
got Reese Hines. They got some guys that got some pop. Kyle Farmer, actually, he's going to start out the year. They just said today he's going into camp as the starting shortstop. So Barrero or however you say his last name, he's going to have to compete for it. So, which is good for a young guy. I mean, he needs to, and he's not taking India's spot at second. India proved the world wrong last year, I think. So, my favorite player.
So let's talk real quickly about our guests. I already kind of gave a brief background about Brian Pitzer, who will be joining us here shortly within the next couple of minutes. But Brian's a guy that we both went to high school with at McLean High School. He was in between us in terms of age. So he's a year younger than me, a year older than Jimmy. He played sports at McLean. He played football, baseball, and basketball. So played baseball with both of us, played football with me, and basketball with Jimmy. So he's a guy that we are pretty familiar with, but I don't think I've seen Brian since high school. I know that after high school, he moved on and went to Mount St. Joe's and then got his first teaching job. I want to say at Anderson High School, but we'll let him go into that. I'm not sure if that's correct. But I'll give him a chance to talk more about his background and just some things that are important to him. Like, we've been doing these new segments where we're bringing on people that we feel are interesting, and we hope that our listeners feel are interesting as well. So Brian's in the waiting room right now. I'm going to try and get him on here and see if we can get him in this Zoom meeting. So it looks like Brian might be in.
I'm in. What's up, fellas?
There he is.
What's up, man?
How we doing?
Brian Pitzer. What's up, Brian? I was kind of giving a little background before I brought you on here of kind of how we know you.
Yeah.
And I think the last time I saw you was probably high school, honestly.
You're probably right. I can't think of a time when we last saw each other. So, no,
maybe a basketball game or something. But yeah, so I was kind of giving a background of, how you started in sports in high school and then moved on to Mount St. Joe's. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to kind of catch us up on what you've been doing lately. So Mount St. Joe's, talk about that experience, and then where you went from there.
Yeah, for sure. So, went to the Mount in 2009. Played football there from 2009 to 2012. That was my last season. Graduated in 2013. I think 2009 we won a Heartland Collegiate Athletic Conference Championship, which was pretty awesome to be a part of. I then started 2 years later as a junior or senior, and then moved on from there and went to Anderson High School, where I became the quarterback's coach. Kind of funky situation. I wanted to kind of coach college football, but then my mentor, the guy that recruited me to Mount St. Joe, Vince Soriano, was the former Anderson High School head football coach for like 20 years, and he had kind of hit me up after my senior year and said, "Hey, the head coach there, Jeff Geesting, is looking for a quarterbacks guy. Would you be interested?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah. I mean, it's a great school, great opportunity." I didn't have a teaching license at the time, so I was just trying to find something to do in the building. So I actually, the summer of that year, so I started doing quarterbacks, working all through the summer. Didn't have a job, living in Cincinnati by myself, single, just kind of living in a 600 square foot bedroom apartment and just hanging out for a whole entire summer, which was kind of fun, actually. I'm an only child, so that stuff doesn't bother me much. And then I ended up interviewing for this job, this like technology job in the building, kind of like your first line of defense technology stuff inside of a school building with a company called Forward Edge. I walk in the interview, they start talking all this, lingo and stuff. And I stopped the interview and I'm like, "Guys, I don't have a clue what you're talking about." Like, I said, I'm pretty good with like people, relationships, and solving problems. I said, outside of that, I mean, you guys would have to teach me everything. So I left the interview. I'm never getting this job. Like, that's not happening. So we're into two-a-days. I get a call, middle of two-a-days, and they're like, "Hey, Brian," the manager or whatever, was like, "Can you come meet me over?" He was at Anderson High School. He's like, "Can you come meet me?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." He's like, "You willing to take the job?" I'm like, "Well, yeah. I mean, if you guys think I can do it, like, let's roll." So I think I was really the only person that wanted to take a $20,000 job, that they could find. So, and it was 2 days before school started that year. So in 2013, I started coaching and working at Anderson High School, worked there for 4 years. or actually worked there from 2013 to 2017. During that time, kind of realized, went on a couple college coaching interviews, kind of really realized I just met my wife, Ashley, and realized like, hey, I'm not going to do college football. Like I can't, good story was I went and interviewed at Ohio Northern, middle of like February. There's probably, I don't know, 17 inches of snow on the ground. And they're like, hey, come live with us like 5, GAs and make $5,000 for the year. And I'm like, no, like I just can't, I couldn't do it. So, so then I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to do next? Like, how am I going to, I want to coach college football, or want to coach high school football. How do I do it for like longevity? So I ended up getting alternative licensure in physical education. And then, got a job at Norwood in 2017, as a PE teacher, continued to coach at Anderson 17 and 18. And then I went and took the offense coordinator job at Loveland High School for 1 year. And then in 2019, December of 2019, I ended up getting the head football coaching job at Norwood. It finally opened up. So I went forward and got that, and then spent the past 2 years there. And then due to some budget cut stuff within, COVID's kind of hit every district hard. So PE is usually one of those deals that goes first. So I was low man on the totem pole. So I actually, got cut from my PE job 3 or 4 weeks ago, and happy to announce is it'll probably post once this interview does tomorrow night. Well, I guess I should say tonight, if you will. I'll be named the head football coach at New Richmond High School and teaching PE there as well. So really excited for the future. And that's really it for me. I've got a beautiful wife, Ashley. We've got a really cool story. She grew up here in Anderson Township, went to Turpin High School. There's two high schools here in the township, Anderson and Turpin. And I'm coming home from Thanksgiving in 2013, I think. My mom's like, hey, stop into the Glitz, like get your hair cut. And I'm like, okay. So I walk in and she's got my future wife sitting in the chair with her hair like all up and, dyed and colored. And I walk up to her, I'm like, hey, how are you? I'm Brian. Nice to meet you. Yada, yada, yada. One thing led to another. Her parents actually moved and lived. You guys will love this reference point here. So they live off Lower Twin. So her grandparents have owned the schoolhouse at the bottom of Lower Twin. You know what I'm talking about? So I'm
I think so, yeah.
Yep.
So like, a couple people live out that way. I think like Katie Swords might have lived out that way.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the schoolhouse on the left was her grandparents' house, and she's been coming to South Salem since 1989. Like,
Wow.
whole family, mind blowing. So her parents built a house there on kind of that farmland up on top before you dive down into the valley there. And my mom started doing her mom's hair. So the moms actually kind of convened and hooked us up. And I think we're going on year 9 or 10 coming up here soon. So, and we've got a beautiful son, Trip, which stands for Brian J. Pitzer III. So we ended up calling him Trip and keeping that name going. And that's me caught up to this point pretty much. I mean, as you guys know with kids, that's basically your life, So
yeah, for sure.
happy to do this with you guys. It's going to be an awesome experience. When I saw that you guys are doing this, I was like, I got to try to get on this thing. I'm like, whatever I can do to help these guys out and push this out, let's do it. So.
Absolutely. We appreciate you coming on for sure.
Yeah.
So, knowing you, from the time you were in high school, I think everybody knew you were going to be a high school football coach, or you were going to be a coach of some sort. I mean, when we talk about going into powder puff games with play sheets that are 3 pages long, Brian Pitzer is going to be a coach. You and honestly, you're kind of living the dream, like what I thought my dream would be as well after high school. Now you're kind of living that dream now. So how did that experience at Mount St. Joe kind of shape you into the coach that you are right now?
Yeah. Well, I want to sidebar here for a second. I mean, I haven't done the research. I do keep up with Powder Puff at McLean High School. I want to say the class of 2009 still might be the all-time winningest class in Powder Puff history. So I do want to throw 2009. But anyway, I mean, when you play college football, I mean, you make so many incredible connections, I think is the number one thing. And 2, you learn the game. You have to learn the game, especially when you're playing quarterback, from a whole different perspective than probably, what you ever even thought of in high school. And I think just, learning more about the game and all those things, and then building the connections that I built with Coach Siriano and multiple other guys now that, as I'm finding out, Mount St. Joe is kind of if you're in Cincinnati, is kind of the hub for most coaches. Like there are a ton of high school football coaches that come out of Mount St. Joe. So we are all a very well-connected kind of group of people, and we all stay in touch, definitely. But, I think having those opportunities, getting to play an extra 4 years, and, you know, really building relationships and sticking it out in Cincinnati and building a life down here. You know, I think it's just been, you know, an awesome experience, first of all. And then two, you know, to kind of wrap back to your question, you know, I think once you have, you know, kind of that information under your belt, you know, it's, for me, it's not something that I forget. I mean, you know, learning more coverages and learning more about people. And I was a part of our leadership council, and with all of our teams, we have a leadership council that I coach. And, you know, it's going to be one of those things that we're just going to continue. You know, I still use things from Mount St. Joe that I use today. And just, you know, all those experiences just stay with you as a coach. And I think you just got to build on them every single day and try to kind of change your best and get better every day. So.
For sure. I know you worked under Coach Dreyer,
Yeah.
and among a bunch of other people as well. Talk about some of those influential guys that you've had that have kind of shaped you as well, and the impact that they've had on you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the two mentors that I have in terms of football would definitely be one, Coach Vince Suriano, who, like I said, legend in Cincinnati. Took Anderson High School in 1980. I want to say he took over in either 86 or 87, maybe 88, somewhere in that time period, and absolutely took him from being like the worst team in Cincinnati to one of the, you know, perennial powerhouses in Southwest Ohio. So having him, and then having the opportunity to go and see all of it, you know, see the proof in the pudding, and being a part of that place as well at Anderson High School. It's a very special place, and definitely a football school. It was a very, you know, I'm very fortunate for that opportunity. And then, so I started coaching there in 2013, 13, 14, 15. 15, we went 1-9. Head coach Jeff Giesing resigned. And now it wasn't like he was a bad ball coach or anything. I mean, the guy won a state championship in 2007. I mean, so he was a heck of a ball coach, really great guy. And I love catching up with him when I can. And then, you know, here comes high flying Evan Dreyer, which, if you guys don't know who Evan Dreyer is, he's, in my opinion, one of the best high school football coaches I've ever been around. I mean, the guy's passion and drive to just outwork people is unbelievable. I mean, I like to think that I don't stop doing football. I mean, he's probably watching football right now at 8:42 on a Sunday night on Huddle. I mean, 100%, I'd lock it up. So I think he's, you know, he really kind of taught me everything there is to know about a program, in terms of, you know, from, you know, whatever, doing laundry to recruiting to, you know, meeting with parents to booster clubs. I mean, everything. I mean, I got to give a lot of credit to him, because he, you know, even though he's what I call the master delegator, you know, at the time I'm telling my wife, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, he is having me do some of the craziest stuff I've ever even thought of. But I just learned so much. And so now, having done kind of all those roles, I mean, it really helped me out a ton at Norwood when I took over as a first year head coach. And then it really helps right now, you know, moving on to New Richmond and taking over a program and, you know, continuing to build things. And yeah, so.
Yeah, Pitt, this is Jimmy here.
Long
time no see, man. So I guess I'm just curious, you know, I coached at McLean for several years and coached high school baseball. And I know how hard it is, and I can only imagine football is probably the hardest sport to coach, in my opinion. How do you lay the groundwork? I mean, you've started over here with this new job you're getting ready to take. I mean, how do you lay that groundwork to kind of build that foundation to get the program the way you want it? I mean, how do you set all that up?
Yeah, I think it's just, you know, you got to kind of come up with your own, in my opinion, you know, culture is the big buzzword that everybody wants to throw around nowadays. And I think some people think it's signs on walls or t-shirts, but I mean, culture is the way that you know, you think, you breathe, you act, in all those, you know, different ways that you behave, really. So, you know, like a place like Norwood, where there was not much culture, if any, I mean, it was a total come in and we are blowing everything up. I mean, we were just going to start from the very, very bottom. We're going to dig down real far and try to build this thing up from the foundation. And, you know, I think when you're at a place like Norwood, you know, it's a very interesting community. It's a group of kids that have all grown up together, everybody in the town. It's very similar to Greenfield, but it's got 20,000 people in it. So, because it's a city inside of a city, which there's a good fact for you that they like to hang their hat on at Norwood. Norwood is the only city inside of a city corporation limit in the United States. So kind of a thing there. But anyway, so it is very like small townish. So I related well, because coming from Greenfield, I mean, we all can relate to that. And, you know, and now as I'm learning, you know, New Richmond is, you know, I think they're an exempted school village, and they only have, I think, maybe 2,500 people in the quote unquote town of New Richmond, which is right along the river. But back to your point of, you kind of got to come in and establish, what you want. How do you want your kids to act, behave? And we talk about really three things. And I'm not going to go all culture on you guys tonight unless you really want me to, because I could talk for half hours. But we talk about being elite academically, athletically, and socially in those three core areas every single day. How are we going to develop you, over a 4-year period to be an elite student athlete? And so, coming in and using the word elite at a place that was coming off an 0-10 season, it was like, what do you mean? Like, we're okay with being bad to average. So, moving into year one, we were fortunate. We had Kevin English, who was the first Division I college football player to come out of Norwood since I think 1993, which was Mark Edwards, who was Mr. All Ohio, went to Notre Dame. You've got to love Mark Edwards. I mean, he's like a big fullback guy. If you haven't, I'm sure. But anyway, so to have a guy like Kevin English, I mean, that helps you win games. I mean, I'm not some miracle worker. I mean, he got us my first win ever. We threw a fade to him in the back of the end zone as time expired, and they won their first game against Loveland High School, and they won their first game in like 697 days. So I didn't do anything. I just happened to call a fade to a guy that's 6'5", so he caught it and we won. So I think that first year, we had COVID and all that stuff going on. It was really interesting once those guys left, seeing, kind of the transition into year two. In year two, we actually went down. I mean, we were 4-6 in 2020. This year, we went 2-8. But I think we grew more as a team. We weren't necessarily super reliant upon overall talent. We grew more as a team. We played a way tougher schedule because our 6-game schedule in COVID. We played smaller teams within our league that are on the other side of our conference that we don't normally play. And the 10-game schedule that we played was extremely tough. I mean, I think 7 out of the 10 teams went to the playoffs. So, it was really competitive, and they weren't the 16 seeds. You know what I mean? They were top, 12 to 8 to, I think, 1. So, it's been a much harder schedule. And then as I'm transitioning out here, the things inside of the weight room really started to take place. And I think that's where your overall development's got to come. And I don't really care what sport it is. I think the more that people can get things bought into a weight room, the quicker, the better. Because, from my experience, and really I look at all sports this way, you usually only play sports for about 3 to 4 months, actual games. I mean, high school football, you get 10 weeks, but you train for 8 months, you know what I mean? So I'm really into the weight room. And I think a lot of places that are super successful are. To your point, Jimmy, with like baseball, if I coach baseball, I would be in the weight room constantly. I would be doing everything humanly possible to be the biggest, fastest, strongest team, because I haven't seen a small, scrawny baseball player in the NFL or in the MLB. Most of those guys are yoked and, like McGuire and Sosa and all those guys outside of their external use of stuff. They're still huge. They're still working out, you know what I mean? So I would encourage every sport to be in the weight room. I don't care what you were doing, year round if possible. So I think that's where a lot of it starts. And I think that's where you can gain an advantage in high school football and in high school sports. Really is just outworking people. If we all go back to our days of McLean Tiger basketball and the heyday of, and well, now, they're back, baby. I love it. I love seeing all the combo stuff this weekend. I hope we can talk about that. You think of all those days. Guys like Michael Howard and Garrett Taylor and those guys and Dante, like those guys were special because they outworked everybody. Rick Van Meter was special because he outworked everybody. It was no like, obviously if you have Dante Jackson, yes, you're going to win games, but we still lost the game in the district championship that we probably shouldn't have really lost. We just played a really good team that year, but I think to get to that point, it's just work. And I think the weight room teaches you that. And I think that's where, in my opinion, if you're starting a program, you've got to flip the table in the weight room, because I think a lot of, I think larger schools, it's pretty prominent that everybody works out, but smaller schools, I think it's a place where you got to kind of teach people how to work. And fortunately at New Richmond, the last coaching staff that was there, they're all even on good terms with, they've done a heck of a job with the weight room. These kids love to work out, and it's very evident. So my life has been easy for about the past week that I've been in there. So
that's awesome, man. Yeah, I think, not trying to change the subject or transition, but I think what you said exactly, culture. That's something, we were just talking about Greenfield, the basketball culture, and then it kind of went away for a while. And then, and I'm not speaking ill of any coaches after Coach Van Meter, any coach, but when Joe B. Stewart came in, he's a culture guy. He is a motto guy. He likes to stick to his core principles. And, I follow him on Facebook, the McLean basketball group, and he's big on sharing that with the community. And these kids bought in from the time they were freshmen. They had 10 seniors this year, really lost the game. I was there against Waverly that they should have won, in my opinion, but it just didn't fall their way. Waverly's now in the Final Four, so it's pretty crazy. But yeah, I think you're right, man. Culture is everything, and you can't always control what you inherit. And I think that's one of the hardest things coaches face is changing that. Changing the views of wanting to be bad to average to good to great. Not every kids. Some kids aren't used to that, and I think that's when I coached. That was the hardest thing was, these kids just didn't care, and you can't teach that. So you kind of have to mold it into them and create that culture. So yeah, I appreciate that insight, man. It's definitely coaching is one of those thankless jobs because you not only deal with the kids, but you deal with their parents and the community. And it's one of those things where you really have to get everybody to come together as one. So good insight.
I think the sidebar to that, Jimmy, that the parent aspect is what I think is huge. I mean, if you have parents who are also as bought in, obviously no parent's going to be as bought in as the head coach is on the culture and all that stuff. But I mean, if you can get parents to also reiterate those things at home, I guarantee you Big Brian and Mindy weren't telling me, when I came home and said, hey, Coach Van Meter called me this and that today.
Yeah.
Work on this. They were like, oh, you got to be kidding. And my dad was probably laughing. My mom was probably sitting there thinking, well, good. And when we moved on, and there was no, I wasn't walking into a house where I was going to get coddled about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't anything special. I was 6', 7", part of the bomb squad, I think, one year. So,
yeah.
So yeah, it's just, I think the parent aspect is huge. You got to have full buy-in with the parents in order to really get things rolling. And as much as I could follow along, and I followed that game the other night at the combo just via Twitter and Instagram and stuff. And yeah, I mean, it looked like an amazingly close game. But the thing that I saw that I noticed was the community's back. They're all back on McLean basketball.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I looked over at my wife, and she's a Hillsboro grad, 2013 grad from Hillsboro, and I looked at her. Unfortunate. That's what I said. I said, Molly, have you see this crowd? I said, there's 4 sections of Waverly Tigers, and there's like 10 of McLean Tigers all the way up. Do you see this? I said, you're probably not used to that being from Hillsboro. And she obviously laughed. She was a cheerleader, so she really didn't care. But it's great to see when you can get a community backing. And I hope you're able to do that at New Richmond. I'm familiar with the school. My job, I travel around to a lot of these schools. So I'm familiar with New Richmond. So I wish you luck, man. It's actually kind of similar to Greenfield in a sense.
It is.
Small town. So
100%. It's a great place so far. So.
And I would be interested to ask you, Brian, obviously in high school, we didn't have a ton of success in terms of football success. Did that kind of drive you like to where you are now? Did that, the lack of success that we had as a program in high school, did that drive you to find success as a coach?
Yeah, 100%. It drove me as a player too. I mean, I wanted to, I had a little bit of not a chip on the shoulder, but a crack on the shoulder. I wanted to prove to myself that I could be a guy that could go play college football, start. I'm not, and once again, much like you guys, I'm not talking ill of any, but I can't, outside of a few people that went and played college football for all 4 years from McLean High School, I don't think there's a ton. I think there's probably maybe a little more since then, but that's something that definitely drove me. Just, I like being the underdog. I like when somebody tells me, you can't do that. Like I hope Nate Luke listens to this, but I'll never forget this. I came back to a basketball game. Nate Luke said, I had a Mount St. Joe shirt on. He goes, oh, are you going to play wide receiver there? And I looked at Nate and I'm like, no, I'm playing quarterback. Like, what do you mean? He was like, oh, okay. Like, and I love Nate. Nate's a great guy. Like, probably meant nothing by it, but that is something that motivated me every time I worked out. Like, things like that motivate me. I don't forget many things that somebody tells me I'm not going to do something that I'm definitely going to go do it. But yeah, I do think to your point, Ren, yes, we had a good time, all those things, but yeah, I coach because I want to make sure that kids have an amazing opportunity. And not that I didn't have a great opportunity at McLean High School at all. It's not what I'm saying. I just want kids to, know that they have a coach that cares about them, loves them, and wants them to go out and be successful as well. Get out of your home.
Exactly.
Go be whatever, that you want to be. And if I can help you with the avenue of football to get you to that point, that's my goal is, and that's why I coach. I mean, I don't care about wins and losses. I really don't. I just want kids that if you want an opportunity to get out, let's get you out. And if you want, if you want to go be a coach one day, I'm going to help you be a coach. If you want to go be a doctor, let's go be a doctor. So that's kind of why I do what I do. But yeah, no, Ren, I think it definitely motivated me as a player to, want to play, 4 years of college football and then go on and coach as well. So.
Yeah, and kind of spinning off of that, Brian, like you said, wins and losses, you don't coach for those reasons, but obviously winning helps. We all like to win. We're competitive people. But success isn't always measured in wins and losses. Coach Stewart, the Greenfield's basketball coach, I read something he put out there the other day. One of his mentors said, there's winners and there's winning. There's winning a game and then there's winners. And, he said after they lost that Waverly game, he had a locker room full of winners. And I kind of thought about that all night after he said that, like, he really did, because he took a team that everybody underestimated. I'll tell you right now, I mean, a lot of people in this community didn't think they'd go that far, but they got behind, we got behind them and they did it. So I think you're right, man. It back to culture, and just kind of molding these guys to get somewhere after football, because we all know not many of us are going to go pro or go to college and play. It's a blessing to be able to do that. So I like what you're doing, man, and I respect it and I appreciate it. And I'm glad you came on, because it's been a while for me and you. I know we used to run around together in high school, so it's nice to have you on.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Talk about your leadership, what that means to you to be a leader, and what are the qualities that you feel like you possess that, I don't know how I'm trying to say it. Just talk about leadership, Brian, because you're a leadership guy.
Yeah. I would say, not to backhand your question, I'm more of a culture guy. I think leadership to me is like, we don't have team captains. Like, I'm not like a big team captain guy, because I think most team captains are usually decided by, hey, the coaches are going to have the players pick. Okay, players, you vote. Well, players are going to vote for the foremost, popular guys, whatever, the 4 seniors that everybody thinks. Well, you might have a sophomore that might be an amazing leader, but now the sophomore feels like, well, I can't really lead. So we talk about within our program, like, every person in this room has the ability to lead. Like, if you want to lead, let's go lead. Now we're going to teach you how to lead properly, cussing at guys and yelling at people and telling them, hey, you suck, and let's get it. That's not leadership. That's just jibber jabber. I think I've gotten better as a leader. I'm not like an overly outwardly vocal person in large group settings. Now, obviously, I'm the head coach, so now I'm kind of forced into that, which is what I like. But as an assistant, like, I used to get very nervous at Anderson High School if I had to get up and talk in front of the team, because I was like, man, there are 7 other coaches in here that are, some of them got state championships, some have been head coaches. Like, I'm just 28. Like, I don't know, I don't know if I know what I'm talking about. So I think, I'm still trying to get better every single day as a leader. I think as a leader, you really just, you got to listen, you got to lift people up. And then you got to lead when it's time to lead. And I think listening is the big one. I try to be really, really good at listening to what people need and what do our players need, and what parents or whoever, what do you need? What can we do to make you more successful? And I think some people think leadership is rah and all this stuff, but like, I will go back to McLean basketball, because I think those are probably some of the best coaches I've been around. Was like, Joe Wisecup didn't say but maybe 6 or 7 words, at practice. But Joe Wisecup, I thought was a really, really good leader, because he was just consistent. He was always going to, be prepared and things like that, like looking back. And obviously Coach Van Meter and Coach Eaton and all those guys were amazing leaders as well, which is why they're super successful. But I think, leadership, I think sometimes everybody thinks it's, oh, you're standing up here on this podium and you've got this, attention. That's not really leadership to me. Some people lead with action. Some people lead with words. I'm more of an action guy. I'm going to, for our players, I'm going to hop into a squat rack with you, and I'm going to work out right next to you. Like, we don't run sprints, because if we got to run sprints, that means I've got to run sprints. So like, I'm not like a run sprints kind of guy for discipline. That's not going to do anything. That's not going to change any part of what we're doing. And so I'm an actions person. I want to see action out of people. That's what I think leadership is. And I've been fortunate that, well, at Anderson, Loveland, Norwood, and New Richmond, I mean, we've always had, pretty solid leadership in all those places. But I think it's because the coaches that I've been around at all those places have led with action. And I think action's a big thing. I think words will get you so far. And I'm sure, my players would get tired of me saying be a lead all the time and the culture and the culture and the culture, but I'm just trying to brainwash. I mean, that's just, because I know that if we do these types of things, like the thing behind me, if you change your best every single day, you're going to continue to get better. And whatever you did yesterday doesn't matter. We just got to change your best and move forward. And so in terms of my leadership style, I'm trying to change I'm trying to be better, tomorrow than I was today. And, what can I do to improve? So, and I think sometimes people think leaders have it all figured out. Well, I don't have it all figured out. Like I'm 31. I've been a head coach for 2 years now, going into year 3, and coaching for, I think, 9 years going into 10. So I don't have it all figured out. I mean, I see new stuff every single day on Twitter and Instagram, whatever. And, I think, man, okay, maybe we should do that, or maybe we should look into it. So I think leadership is something that is action driven, not necessarily word driven, which I think a lot of people get confused. So
what would you say your biggest hurdle in your 9-year coaching career so far? Like, what's the biggest hurdle you've faced as a coach, and what did you learn from that?
Yeah. I think my biggest hurdle was 2019. I went from Anderson High School, where we're just coming off 11 win season, lost in the regional championship game to Winton Woods, who had Mayan Williams and some other great athletes that just absolutely ran us off the field. And then I went and took a job for a team that was 0-10 the year before. And then we actually went 0-10. And I think I probably learned the most in that year, outside of 2016, when we made the transition from going 1-9 to 7-4 and making the playoffs at Anderson. But I think I learned the most just because, we didn't have maybe as much talent or whatever it might be, and the guy there, Andy Cruz, and I give a lot of credit to him for giving me an opportunity and a job. And Andy does a phenomenal job at setting a culture. And it was going to be rough for a couple of years, just because of the scenario, the school, the situation, the players that we had playing in the ECC, which you guys aren't familiar with the ECC. The ECC is probably the second hardest league in Cincinnati, in my opinion. Well, I don't like to count the GCL because it's a 4-team league that just beat each other up. So when you look at the public schools of the GMC, it's the ECC is next. I mean, it's highly competitive. I mean, a lot of state championship teams coming out of there and all that stuff. So, we were just in a situation there where it was like, okay, well, how can we totally flip the whole entire mindset? And I think that's where I probably learned the most. That was probably the biggest hurdle for me, was going from somewhere that was super successful. This is how we're doing it. How can we implement that here? But we just, it wasn't going to be done in a year, and I thought, in my brain, well, yeah, we can. Like, why can't we? If we do this here, why can't we just take them and insert from here? And because none of it was talent based, it was all work based. So it was like, but I mean, we did. I mean, we worked our faces off, and, it was awesome to score a touchdown some games, you know what I mean? So it was definitely a hurdle. But that program at Loveland has really done, Andy Cruz has done an awesome job there, building that thing up, and I think he's moving into maybe year 4 right now. So he had a really good sophomore class or senior class that when I got there, they were sophomores, and they were a great group of kids last year. And he won some games last year finally, and really kind of, sparked some momentum. So I hope they keep that going moving forward. But yeah, that's probably one of my biggest hurdles. Like I said, I'm a relationships guy. So like players, kids, parents, that stuff, I don't find that as a hurdle, and getting to do what I love every single day is definitely not a hurdle. So probably those moments in 2019 were challenging at times. So.
Yeah, I'm sure COVID was probably a big hurdle in itself, though, with all the regulations and everything.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think that was probably, there's a really great hurdle. Thanks for I tried to erase 2020 from my memory, not the football season, but everything prior to it. But yeah, I mean, I think coming in, so I got hired in December of 2019, so right before the new year flipped. We had to like basically teach them how to lift. We're coming to workouts after school. It's 4 days a week. It's an hour and a half long. We're going to lift. We're going to run. We're going to do this and that. And just getting that consistency built. And right after basketball season ended, we really it was like, man, we got 25, 30 guys in here in a program that had 28 players on the team. And then boom, March 13th or 14th or whatever day it was happened. And it was like, well, what are we going to do now? Like, I'm just sitting here in my basement where I'm sitting right now, talking to people on Zoom, learning ball all day long and teaching online. And, it was just like, what? I don't know where we're going to start. So like every day I was like, well, I got practice plans already. Maybe they'll tell us to start tomorrow or next week, or, and we can get back to the weight room or summer practice or whatever. So yeah, no, that was definitely a challenge and a hurdle. But our kids handled it really well, honestly. I think everybody that year was just so happy to be like, oh my God, we can be at like a sport and we can get outside and we can see people. So Yeah,
That's where you find your leaders, though, man. I mean, getting those kids to work out at home and to, study the playbook and learn all that. I mean, I just couldn't imagine that. I'm glad I didn't have to imagine it at that point with coaching. But yeah, that's pretty crazy, man. Do you have anything else you want to share with us, Brian? I mean, we're open. We're open to discuss anything.
I mean, tell me about your guys' self. What are you guys been up to?
Well, Ren, I'll let you go first. Jump in.
Well, Brian, I'm married. I've been married for about 6 years to my wife, Marissa. We have 2 boys. I have Bowen. He's 4 now. He just turned 4 in January. And then Hayes is my second. He's going to be 1 on Thursday. So I'm at Great Oaks. We've kind of talked about that through text. At Laurel Oaks as an intervention specialist. So I've been doing that for 4 years now. So that's kind of it for me. I mean, I'm pretty simple. Jimmy?
Yeah, I got married in October of 18 to my wife, Molly. I work at Southern State Community College, and I jumped around a lot after college, man. I worked in a lot of I worked in sports. I worked in banking. I traveled all around. I did it all. Lived in the city, moved back to Greenfield. Was thankful for that because I'm not a big city guy. But met Molly at Southern State. She worked there as well, and was promoted into a director role there. I'm over admissions and recruitment there at the college. We have our son Jackson was born in October. So he's growing up, and I'm just, obviously I've done the coaching thing. I've jumped all over, man. I sell real estate. I'm a real estate agent also. I try to stay busy, but yeah, I'm enjoying life, man. I'm a Greenfield guy through and through. This is where I want to be and where I want my son to go. And I'm just glad he's not going to Hillsborough.
When you texted me and said that you were you had a new job lined up.
Oh yeah,
kind of thought
it was Greenfield, man.
Kind of got my hopes up because they have an opening. So
phys ed,
maybe it.
Physical education too.
Yeah.
So the day that it came open, my aunt Libby, she's the principal secretary or whatever. She texted me. She's like, "Job's coming open. You coming back?" And I, for a brief moment, you're like prideful of your alumni, and I'm like, "Yeah, thank you," but now I'm probably not coming back. What's funny is before the Andrews, was that his name?
Yeah.
Before I applied for the job then, and I want to shout out to Pat Stevens for probably not asking me to come interview or anything. I mean, never got back to. I'm not talking bad about Pat. I'm just letting you guys know how never called, never nothing. I was like, dang man, but I think some things are kind of meant to be sometimes. I
think at that time you applied, Brian. I think they were trying for some fresh blood from the outside.
Yeah,
sure. From what I've heard, I've been there, man. I've applied for the AD job at Greenfield 3 times, so haven't got the first call, interview, nothing. So I feel you. I'm not talking ill of anybody, but us Greenfield guys, I mean, we take that to heart when you don't hear anything. That kind of sucks.
Was that your dream at one point to come back and take over?
I mean, let's see, I think that job came open. So I think my cousin Tristan would have been maybe a junior or senior, and I would have, coached him or whatever. So I'm trying to think about when he graduated. I might have been like 13 or 14. So of course I'm like young, fiery, like, oh, I can do it. Like, we'll move back. It's not going to be a problem. What are you talking, to my wife who's lived in Cincinnati her whole entire life. Then ultimately there's probably no way that we were going to do that. But of course me being an alumni and, once again, Rand, I think back to your other question, like, well, I can turn this place around, like 100%. Right. We can do it. Like, there's no reason we can't,
Those are the kind of guys you want at the helm, man. Guys that, I mean, I know you're going into New Richmond with that same mindset. I don't know what their record was last year, but I'm sure you got that same mindset. I know you just, obviously we haven't talked for a while, but I know how you were and competitive, and that they got a good coach. And I'm not sure who the Greenfield coach is going to be. So I guess we'll see what happens. But
either. Hopefully they get a good one. So I'd like to see. I thought it was exciting seeing them. I think they start out 5-0 this year. Is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. That's
in conference,
that's got to be a first in a while. Like,
I
don't have a date for you, but that's got to be a first in a while that's ever happened.
Talk about New Richmond a little bit. Like, what do you know about the program? And obviously you took the job there, but kind of what are your expectations going in? Like, what do you know about the program, like the history of the program, all that kind of stuff?
So I think the first thing that I've told a lot of people is the people. I mean, the people at New Richmond are amazing. I mean, from the top down, administration to the kid, everybody. I mean, I'm walking into the building my first day, and this lady's like, "Hey, are you don't even like, I'm walking through a dark parking lot. She calls me out. I'm like, that's awesome that you even have a clue who I am. But no, I think the kids have been amazing so far. Everything's been really well ran and really well done. It's a top notch type deal. It's a great, it's up on top of a hill that overlooks the river. It's picturesque, great facilities. It's a cool little town, and everybody's, you got a really good mixture of, I think you got a really good mixture of lower income, middle income, and some upper level income that all kind of come together. And it's it's great. I've been really impressed first week here. So, moving into next week, now that maybe the honeymoon period's over with some of my PE classes, they're all freshmen. Maybe it'll get a little different, but I doubt it. They seem like good kids. But here's a good stat for you. I was looking, and I think they've been playing football since 1950. Well, maybe 1955 or maybe longer, but that's all that they have tracked on this board in the locker room. And I think I counted they've had 55 winning seasons out of 66 years, something like that.
Oh, wow.
I was like, whoa.
What did they do last year?
Last year, I think they were 5-4 or 4-5. They had like a 4-game stretch where they didn't find out who they were playing until literally Thursday night due to COVID.
Tough. Yeah.
So they got paired up with some teams that they probably wouldn't have normally played and things like that. But yeah, so they kind of got COVID gamed a couple of those, and I think they played 2 games where they were down to I think traditionally about a 60 to 65 man roster at Division III. And I think at a couple games, they went in with like 28, 30 kids. So I think COVID definitely hit them pretty hard last year, but no, they definitely have high expectations. Kids have high expectations, want to win, want to work. And that's my kind of place. So I want people who want to win and who want to work. So if we can pair those things up, but yeah, so far it's been an amazing experience. I mean, the people are just amazing. So,
and you are in the is it Southern Buckeye Athletic Conference? Is that the conference you're in?
Man, I tell you what, 4 years of Clinton Massey, got away for about 10 or 12 years and then right back to him. So excited for that opportunity. I'm gonna have a little, pat on the shoulder on that one too. So
the state champion Clinton Massey Falcons.
I tell you what, they were really impressive last year. I got to see times just on film and stuff, and I mean they're always impressive. Don't get me wrong, but that backfield was really impressive, and I think all 4 of those guys are gone, but I think the majority of their O line is back.
Yeah, they just run the ball down your throat. I watched them twice last year, man. Unbelievable what they can do with the football.
Right, it is. They're going to get 7-8 yards and once and get all hyped up, and then they're going to gash it for probably 40 or 30. And
yeah.
That's a game that Jimmy and I'll be coming to. So no pressure, but
man, I don't know what I was trying to think if I knew when that game was. I think it's like week 7 for us. So whenever that would be from August 19th, probably first or second week in October. So let me know, guys. I'll help you out and get you in. You might know the head coach. You might be able to.
That'd be awesome, man. I'd look forward to that.
But yeah, no, so far it's been amazing. So I'm excited. I think everybody thinks like people want to move around. I think with college football, everybody thinks like, oh, this guy's gonna be there for 2 years, 3 years. I mean, I'd love to be at this place for 20 years, 30 years. Interviewing I like to do, but I don't want to have to do it very often. So that means that I'm either looking for a job or, situation.
Exactly.
I think this is gonna be a really, really good situation. I'm looking forward to it.
So aside from football and coaching, what else does Brian Pitzer do? I mean, I know you have the young son, got the wife. What do you do? What do you enjoy doing?
I like to play golf. So that's kind of my way of staying athletic. Like to work out, first bell in my classes. I mean, I'm pretty simple. I'm a family guy. Once again, I'm an only child, so I don't have a bunch of siblings and all that stuff, but my wife's got a brother, so we have 5 nieces and nephews. So I think that's pretty cool that I'll get some nieces and nephews, and they're all crazy and wild and awesome. One of them's going to should be a senior. She's a junior right now. They live in Columbus. They live in Westerville. Do that. Go back, see family, as much as we can, or my parents usually come down and see and babysit Trip, at least once a week. And Ashley's parents come down, at least once or twice a month. So, that's really it. I mean, we've got a really good friend group. Well, I should say my wife's got a really good friend group. So they're all best friends from high school. And there's probably, and I'm not exaggerating, probably 25 of them that are all still like best friends from high school. It's very impressive. because
That's rare with women too. I mean, I'm not hating, but my wife and her friends, man, she's got like one that she still talks to. And I know Ren's wife's the same way.
I legitimately, I haven't talked to many people from Greenfield in a while. I mean, the last probably good friend I had was Adam Kokenauer, and he's now moved to Georgia, and he's having a really successful career down in Georgia as a track coach at Bruton Parker. I mean, he's exactly who we knew Adam Kokenauer was in terms of NCAA football and his madness that was Adam Kokenauer. He's the same way, just in track down at Bruton Parker in Georgia. So, but that was probably the last kind of person that I've been really, really close with. So from Greenfield in a while. So
what's the golf score like, Pitt?
I'm probably, I don't know. I mean, I usually play a lot of nines just due to my time. So
yeah,
low 40s. So probably 42 sometime. I played a really easy course called Reeves. It's right where Lunken Golf Course is, or where Lunken Airport is in Cincinnati. It's super flat. My kind of golf course. I can shoot like 36 to 40 there.
If you ever get down, man, you want to play, get a hold of me.
Yeah.
I'm a member at Buckeye, so I play all the time, but I'm not very good, but I enjoy playing.
I played at Buckeye probably. Me and my dad stopped going there probably 17, 18. So I haven't played there probably 5 years. So
it's pristine, man. It's in good shape right now.
Good. Yeah. All right, Ren, what's your favorite memory of high school football? Let's hear it.
I would say my junior year, knocking off Washington Courthouse at Washington Courthouse, and we were like 5-2 at that point. You were a sophomore.
I remember
that was against the Free twins, who were my arch nemesis at the time. So,
right. Oh man, Freeze. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, we were at Courthouse. Man, I love playing there. That's an awesome place.
It was. Yeah. What's yours?
Ooh, favorite high school memory. Not to get all emotional. I think the memory that comes to my brain the most, either you scored it or Luke Kingsolver scored it, but the game that we played Union. Was that you?
Yeah. I think it was me.
Ooh, God, I still think about that. Like I think about that always right in the beginning of August. Like, yeah, that was you. Yeah. That scored that. Yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite memory from high school. So I don't know what it is. I don't remember a lot of games, like even from college. Like I can pick out maybe one or two, but I don't remember a lot of that stuff. I don't know why.
Too many hits.
I remember the Clint Massey games. I remember the Jonathan Alder games.
Oh.
But aside from that, no.
What was this? Okay, so I think Jay Corzotti would have been a junior. It was the time when they went and won a state championship, but all week we thought they were going to run like option. And they came out and shifted into 5 wide and went, I think, and I can remember this, I think they went 28 for 30 for 532 yards throwing with.
And I think they beat us 77-7.
Oh my God. Yeah. Kill us.
And that quarterback, what was that kid's name? Austin something.
Austin
Slosher, yeah.
To Otterbein is where he went.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought, oh my God, look at this guy. And I just remember standing on the sidelines like, I was under center running an option all week, getting like crushed by like Tyler Anderson and those guys. Like, like running the option. And then here they are 5 wide, chucking it all over the place. I mean, we were just totally caught us off. Jimmy,
go ahead. Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Everybody was talking. What'd you say?
Favorite high school baseball memory?
Oh man, I don't know. Probably winning league my senior year. We had like 9 seniors, 10 seniors, and 8 of us started. We won the SCOL that year. Probably my favorite memory. I mean, a lot of good memories from, Ren and I. That's really where Ren and I friendship started. It's probably where you and I's friendship started, baseball. So it really helped mold a lot of friendships for me. But the dugout time was always fun, man. You had guys like Travis Lineberger, who was just a goofball, man. He's always doing something stupid in the dugout, and just a lot of good times.
Miss Jaeger's, what are those? Sour cream cookie?
Yes, I like those, and I like the Rice Krispies. Yeah, man, Yeg's not doing too hot, man. So think about Yeg because she's not been doing well, but yeah, she definitely some good memories with Yeg's cookies.
Yeah. All right, favorite McLean Tiger basketball memory. Let's go. What's our favorite memory? Either as well, because I'm pretty sure we're all student section members.
Yeah. Dante Jackson going into the game at the shop versus Upper Sandusky. We were supposed to get blown out. Dante just blows them out of the water. I think he scored 40 or something like that. Diebler, we beat him by like what, 30, 20?
It was 105-75. Because what happened was with their full court press, Diebler got in foul trouble. Remember, he used to just stand underneath the basket and he couldn't do anything. So like the whole entire second half, I think we just pickpocketed the ball left and right on him in layups because he couldn't get another foul or else they were definitely losing.
Yeah. What about you guys? Favorite memory from?
I would say beating Hillsborough at Hillsborough Dante's senior year because it was wild. I mean,
At Southern State
was wild. Yeah, I think it was at Southern State. Yeah,
I remember that.
I think mine's got to be. I think I was a sophomore. Yeah, Dante's senior year. The Waverly game at Chillicothe.
Buzzer beater,
where it's like 7 seconds.
Yeah.
What's he doing? And then he just pulls up and hits a three and walks off. It was amazing. I mean, that was amazing. I mean, I think I've shown that to at least 5 or 6 buddies in college.
Yeah. Funny story, man. I lived in Westerville. Ren and I did. I worked for the city of Westerville Parks and Recreation. I was their sports program manager. And when I started there, my boss, he did a lot of big basketball games. He was a big time official, did a lot of D1 games for high school. And, when I interviewed, he, where are you from? Greenfield McLean, Dante Jackson. That's how everybody knows Greenfield. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, Dante. And, they would always say, like, out of all the players they've seen, and those guys had seen a lot of them, Dante was one of the best they'd ever seen. And, Ren and I want to get him on the show. That's one of our goals, is to get Dante on. And, I would say, man, honestly, I've seen a lot of high school basketball players. Dante is by far one of the best I've ever seen. He just, I don't know, just great memories, man. Being from Greenfield and watching him play, I think all of us can relate to those memories, man. It was just awesome.
Yeah, I think we can all remember where we were. Like I remember when we played Clark Kellogg's son.
Yep.
And Dales and just absolutely crushed him. I mean, yeah, I remember I could tell. I think I was standing next to Casey Quantz in the student section. Like, I don't know how I can remember. He's probably gonna yell at me when I get off this that you can't remember what we just ate for dinner 12 minutes ago, but you can remember that type of stuff. So,
who you got in the March Madness tournament? Pitzer, here's your team. You're a Duke fan, aren't you?
I'm gonna get some crap from some buddies because I haven't been a very loyal Duke fan, but I will say oh my God, Pablo Banchero is pretty sweet to watch. I was a little disappointed. I did watch the Duke North Carolina game, Coach K's last game. Very disappointed in that whole scenario, just because you just want to see that guy go out on top. I don't care if you like college basketball or like him or not, but yeah. So I would like to see those guys win it for Coach K, but if not, I don't follow basketball as much. I just get real locked into football for some reason. And yeah,
some reason.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't know why, but yeah. So no, I'll watch the tournament coming up, and with my classes, I'll do like a March Madness tournament, and we'll do all that stuff.
Thoughts on Tom Brady coming out of retirement today, just before the show?
I'm not surprised. I mean, I think if anybody watched the Tom Brady documentary thing on ESPN Plus, I mean, there's no way that guy was going to lose in the NFC or AFC championship game, and that was going to be it. Like, all right, we'll see you guys. Like, he's going to come. He's going to win a Super Bowl. He might win 2. I mean, his whole thing is, I think if he feels like he's still the best quarterback in the league, he's going to play. I mean, it's just, I think that's his mentality. I mean, I love it. I love Tom Brady. I know a lot of people hate on him, but I love him. I mean, you got to respect the guy. It's unbelievable what he does.
I've always said that, man. He's one of those guys that you hate him so much you have to love him, because, like, obviously I'm a Steelers fan, so the Patriots are always that team that we couldn't get past, and but Tom Brady, man, greatness. We'll never see another one. I don't think. I mean, he's the greatest quarterback all time for sure.
Joe Burrow guy down here in Cincinnati's lighting it up, but we'll see.
Yeah.
He's special too. I mean, he's kind of got that it factor. He's kind of got that crack on the shoulder, and I think we all got to respect Southeast Ohio a little bit.
He's a cool story, man.
Yes, yeah, very cool. So,
well, Brian, we certainly appreciate you for coming on. I know this is something that you wanted to do, and it was great to talk to you, catch up with you a little bit. Anything else you want to say in closing?
No, I mean, I appreciate you guys having me on. I haven't had time to watch Decker's episode, but I do kind of want to watch that one. You did throw me back there on social media watching some. I did get locked into the highlights that you posted.
Yeah.
some great memories those were.
I
think,
can throw some of yours up if you want.
I don't know if there is one. So I do think the guy Decker was probably the first guy that I can remember at McLean, like as a senior, taking a freshman under his wing of just like, hey man, that's how we do things. Just a great guy. I mean, he's a great guy, and I'm happy that. I think my mom's happy because she can now just worry about doing women's hair instead of men's haircuts. So I think she's happy too. So I'm just making that up, but yeah, no, I appreciate you guys, and this is an awesome experience. I hope, I'm going to post this on my social media and blast it out, and hopefully I get you guys some more recognition, because I think, I would encourage everybody to go back and listen to Mike Shoemate. That's what got me fired up. I was like, all right, I got to get on. Like Mike Shoemate, huge influence in my younger years of coaching me in Little League basketball and being our principal. I mean, just an amazing guy. So I hope this thing blows up, and whatever I can do to help you guys, I'm all in on. So.
Well, we will see you in October for that Clinton Massey game, Pitzer.
Yeah, let's catch up about that for sure. I think we are at New Richmond. So if I'm not mistaken, no, we are at Clinton Massey. So
okay.
I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure. I think we're at Clinton Massey. So easy trip for you guys.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for coming on, Pitt. We really appreciate it.
Guys. All right, take care.
All right, you too.
You guys.
So that was Brian Pitzer. Good catching up with Brian. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've talked to him. High school was 12 years ago for me now at this point.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, great to catch up with him. Super nice guy, doing great things with the high school football coaching. So excited to see what the future holds for him at New Richmond.
Yeah, for sure, man. It was good to catch up. Like you said, Brian was one of those guys that I ran around with in high school, and we had some good times. And like you said, though, in the episode, I mean, you just knew Brian was going to be a football coach. This dude would draw plays and annual staff. I forgot to bring that up, but right. I'd be looking over and he'd be drawing plays on paper. Like he's just a football mind, man. I'll tell you right now, that guy will win a state championship before he dies one day. He will. Yeah,
I hope so. I'm excited to see what the future holds for him, man. I think New Richmond's going to be a good opportunity for him. It's in a very good league. Wilmington, Clinton Massey in that league. So some local teams will have a chance to go see him play more. That's something that, I didn't get to really go see him coach at Anderson or Norwood.
Yeah. Something
I wish I would have done, but now he's a little bit closer at New Richmond. So hopefully we can get out and see him coach this year for that Clinton Massey game. But so coming up on the Legacy lineup, the end of March, I believe, we're going to have my cousin Ryan Lawwell, who's the owner of Blackgate Hunting Products, come on. We're going to talk to him about his business and kind of how he got started. So I haven't set up an exact date for that yet, but I will do that here in the next couple of weeks. But Ryan Law will be our next guest. Jimmy, anything you want to say as we wrap it up here?
No, man, I'm just excited for March Madness. My spring break, unfortunately, is coming to an end tonight. So back to work for this guy tomorrow. So, I got my wife blowing my phone up here, so I got to get back to probably help with Jackson. So I've enjoyed the show, man, though. I like this new thing we're doing, bringing guys on, Greenfield guys. Doesn't have to be Greenfield guy, but whatever. It's fun, man. So let's keep going.
Now, this has been the Legacy lineup with Ren Lawwell and Jimmy Barnett. We'll see you again next time.